Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. In this episode, I will talk about directions in English. This topic is very useful when you travel, walk in a city, or try to find a place like a shop, a restaurant, or a station. When we need help, we usually start by asking for directions. A common question is, "Excuse me, where is the nearest bus stop?" Or, "How can I get to the train station?" These phrases are polite and simple, and they help us start a conversation with someone who can give us directions. People often respond with clear instructions. For example, they may say, "Go straight, turn left, or turn right." These are basic direction words that help us understand the way to go. It is important to listen carefully and follow each step one by one. Another common phrase is "go straight ahead." This means you continue walking in the same direction without turning. You may also hear, "It is on your left" or "it is on your right." These phrases help you understand where the place is located compared to your position. Sometimes directions include distances. For example, someone might say, "Walk for 5 minutes," or "It is about 200 meters from here." These details help you estimate how far you need to go. Prepositions of place are also important when giving directions. Words like next to, between, across from, and near are often used. For example, "The bank is next to the supermarket," or "The cafe is across from the park." These expressions describe the location of places in relation to each other. In real life, directions are usually simple and direct. People use short sentences to avoid confusion. For example, "Go straight, then turn left, and you will see the building." Listening carefully and remembering key words is very important. In this block, I will talk about the most common phrases and words we use when giving directions. Knowing these expressions helps you understand instructions and explain a route clearly. One of the most basic verbs is go. For example, "Go straight, go to the end of the street," or "Go past the shop." These phrases tell you how to move from one place to another. Another important verb is turn. We use it when changing direction. For example, "Turn left" or "turn right." Sometimes people give more detailed instructions like "Turn left at the corner" or "Turn right at the traffic lights." These details help you know exactly where to turn. We also use the word walk. For example, "Walk straight for 2 blocks" or "Walk along this street." A block is a common way to describe distance in a city. It means the space between two streets. Prepositions are very important in directions. Words like next to, opposite, in front of, behind, between, and near help describe locations. For example, "The pharmacy is next to the bank," or "The restaurant is opposite the park." These words make directions more precise. Another useful phrase is "go past." For example, "Go past the supermarket and then turn left." This means you continue walking until you pass a specific place. We also use at and on when giving specific points. For example, "Turn left at the corner," or "The shop is on the right." These expressions help you understand exact positions. Sometimes, directions include sequences using words like first, then, after that, and finally. For example, first, go straight. Then turn right. After that, walk for 2 minutes. These words help organize instructions step by step. In this block, I will explain how to follow directions step by step. When someone gives you a route, it is important to listen carefully and understand each instruction in order. Usually, directions are given as a sequence of steps. For example, First, go straight, then turn left. After that, walk for 5 minutes. Finally, the place will be on your right. These steps show a clear path from the starting point to the destination. When you follow directions, try to focus on one instruction at a time. Do not try to remember everything at once. It is easier to understand each step separately and then move to the next one. For example, after you go straight, you look for the place where you need to turn. Landmarks are very helpful when following a route. A landmark is a visible place like a shop, a park, a bank, or a building. For example, go past the supermarket or turn left at the bank. These landmarks help you know where you are and where to go next. It is also useful to check your position while walking. You can look around and confirm that you are on the correct street or moving in the right direction. If something looks different from the instructions, you may need to ask someone again. Sometimes directions include approximate time or distance. For example, walk for about 3 minutes or it is near the station. These details help you estimate how far you need to go, even if you do not measure the exact distance. If you feel unsure, it is always okay to stop and ask again. You can say, "Excuse me, am I going the right way?" Or, "Can you repeat the directions, please?" This helps avoid mistakes and saves time. In general, following directions step by step requires attention, patience, and basic understanding of common phrases. By practicing, you can easily find places and move around in different environments. In this block, I will talk about how to give directions to someone else. This is a useful skill when a person asks you for help finding a place. You need to speak clearly, use simple words, and explain each step in order. When someone asks you for directions, you can start politely with phrases like, "Sure, of course," or "Let me help you." This makes the conversation friendly and natural. Then you can begin explaining the route step by step. It is important to use simple and clear instructions. For example, go straight for 2 minutes, then turn right at the corner. Avoid long and complicated sentences. Short and direct phrases are easier to understand. You should also use sequence words to organize your explanation. Words like first, then, next, after that, and finally help structure your directions. For example, first, go straight. Then turn left. After that, walk past the bank. Finally, the cafe is on your right. Landmarks are very helpful when giving directions. For example, you can say, "Turn left at the supermarket," or "Go past the park." These references make it easier for the listener to follow the route. You can also include distance or time if you know it. For example, walk for about 5 minutes or it is near the station. This helps the person estimate how long the route will take. When giving directions, it is important to check if the person understands. You can ask, "Is that clear?" or "Do you need me to repeat it?" This makes communication more effective and avoids confusion. In general, giving directions requires clear speech, simple vocabulary, and logical order. With practice, you can confidently explain routes and help others find their way. In this block, I will talk about common mistakes people make when asking for or giving directions and how to avoid them. Understanding these mistakes will help you communicate more clearly and confidently. One common mistake is using unclear or long sentences. For example, instead of saying something simple like, "Go straight, then turn left," some people say very complicated sentences. This can confuse the listener. It is better to keep directions short and simple. Another mistake is forgetting to use sequence words like first, then, and finally. Without these words, directions may sound confusing or out of order. For example, instead of saying steps clearly, people mix them together. Using sequence words helps organize the instructions. Sometimes people forget to mention landmarks. Landmarks are very important because they help identify where to turn or stop. For example, saying turn left at the bank is more helpful than just saying turn left. Without landmarks, it is harder to follow the route. Another common problem is not speaking clearly or too fast. When giving directions, it is important to speak slowly and pronounce words clearly. This helps the listener understand each step without confusion. People also sometimes forget to check understanding. After giving directions, it is helpful to ask, "Do you understand?" or "Would you like me to repeat?" This ensures the listener has understood the instructions correctly. When asking for directions, a common mistake is not being polite. It is important to start with phrases like "excuse me" or "could you help me?" This shows respect and makes people more willing to help you. In addition, some learners confuse prepositions like next to, across from, or between. These words describe location, so it is important to practice them and use them correctly in sentences. In general, avoiding these common mistakes will improve your ability to communicate directions clearly. Use simple sentences, organize your ideas, speak clearly, and always check understanding. First, remember the most important phrases for directions. Go straight, turn left, turn right, go past, and stop. These basic expressions are used very often and help you understand or give simple instructions. Second, always pay attention to sequence words like first, then, next, after that, and finally. These words help organize directions step by step, making them easier to follow and understand. Third, use landmarks when possible. Places like shops, banks, parks, and stations are very helpful for identifying where to turn or stop. For example, turn right at the supermarket or go past the park. Landmarks make directions clearer and more practical. Fourth, practice asking for directions politely. Useful phrases include, "Excuse me, where is the nearest bus stop?" or "Could you tell me how to get to the station?" Polite questions make communication smoother and more natural. Fifth, when giving directions, try to speak clearly and use short sentences. For example, go straight for 2 minutes, then turn left, and the cafe is on your right. Simple language helps avoid confusion. Finally, practice in real-life situations whenever possible. You can look at maps, describe routes, or ask and give directions with friends. The more you practice, the more confident you will become. In conclusion, directions are an essential part of everyday communication. With basic vocabulary, clear structure, and regular practice, you can easily ask for and give directions in English.
Leave a comment under this video and one of you will get 40 English lessons for free.